Good morning, colleague. I would like to begin by extending my sincere thanks to His Excellency Ambassador of Colombia, Vice Chair of this committee, for a very efficient conducting the work yesterday. So thank you. We have two mixed sites remaining from yesterday, which we should discuss before moving to the cultural site. Both these mixed sites are in the Africa region. And I would ask Mr. Raja Iludu to begin the presentation, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Alors, le site dont je vais parler est l'écosystème et paysage culturel relique de l'Opé-Okanda. En mai 2012, le Centre du patrimoine mondial a été informé d'un projet d'aménagement routier le long de la partie nord du Bien, là où se trouvent tous les sites archéologiques les plus importants. En l'absence d'informations sur ce projet routier, le Centre du patrimoine mondial a adressé un courrier à l'État partie en avril 2012. Dans le même temps, le Centre du patrimoine mondial a pris connaissance d'une étude d'impact environnemental du projet routier commandé par l'État partie, mais celle-ci ne fait aucune mention des impacts sur la valeur universelle exceptionnelle du bien, notamment sur les sites archéologiques. Et l'étude signale notamment quelques impacts sur l'intégrité. C'est pourquoi en juillet 2012, le Centre du patrimoine mondial a demandé par courrier une nouvelle fois à l'État partie qu'une étude d'impact sur le patrimoine soit spécifiquement conduite compte tenu de la fragilité de ces sites archéologiques dans la vallée où cette route serait construite. Sans réponse, un nouveau courrier a été adressé à l'État partie en avril 2013, renouvelant cette demande. À ce jour, aucune réponse n'a été reçue, d'où la préoccupation du Centre du patrimoine mondial et des organisations consultatives. À ce propos, ICOMOS souhaite également faire un commentaire.
Thank you, Chair. The road that is being proposed runs along the east-west valley north of the property, as you can see on the map. And it is along this valley, outside the forest area, that the mass migrations of people took place in the Iron Age. And these migrations are reflected in the extensive rock art sites and associated archaeological settlement remains that are the key attributes of the outstanding universal value in cultural terms. So the concern is that the proposed road could impact adversely on the very essence of the cultural attributes of the property. And as you have heard, although a partial impact analysis has been carried out, this does not in any way include a heritage impact assessment on these archaeological sites and rock art sites, which would be essential in order to understand the potential impacts of this road. Thank you.
I think after the presentation, if the committee member has some comment. Sénégal, you have the floor.
Voilà, merci, Monsieur le Président. J'aurais souhaité faire un commentaire, mais avant, je souhaite qu'on donne la parole à l'État partie s'il est présent.
Yes, if the delegation of Gabon is in the room. Gabon, please. No, huh? So how to do? Go back to Senegal. So I have to go.
Bien, le Gabon n'est pas là, c'est bien dommage pour nous tous parce que On a beaucoup travaillé pour l'inscription du parc national de la Lopé au patrimoine mondial. Et il me souvient que l'une des questions sur lesquelles on leur avait demandé de travailler pour renforcer la valeur du bien et avoir son inscription, c'était précisément l'inventaire des biens archéologiques. Si aujourd'hui ces biens sont en danger, je pense que c'est préoccupant et je pense qu'on devrait demander à nos collègues gabonais de faire les efforts nécessaires pour inventorier de manière précise l'impact de cette route sur les biens archéologiques et essayer de faire de telle sorte que des mesures préventives soient prises afin que les biens archéologiques ne soient pas détruits par la construction de cette route. Merci.
Yes, if any comment, please. So no more comment, huh? So I turn to rapporteur and see if any change in the draft.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. On n'a pas reçu aucun amendement pour cette décision. Donc, vous pouvez procéder à l'adoption.
No amendment. Rapporteur did not receive any request for amendment. So no comment. Huh? So we have to adopt the decision.
You read the number 37,7B33.
Yes. So we have to adopt the decision 37,7B.33. So I can say that the decision is adopted. Yes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Alors, le prochain bien sont les falaises de Bandiagara. Monsieur le Président, ce bien a été également affecté par la crise qui a touché le nord du Mali, d'où la nécessité exprimée par le Centre du patrimoine mondial et les organisations consultatives de le voir examiner. En effet, il faut comprendre que ce bien a surtout été touché dans sa partie septentrionale, avec la destruction du Grand Tuguna dans la ville proche de Douenza, qui était à la limite du territoire qu'avait défini l'Azawad. Cette destruction a eu des impacts sur les traditions culturelles et sociales religieuses des Dogons qui sont installés dans les 400 villages du périmètre inscrit. La pression exercée par cette situation, donc par les groupes armés installés en périphérie du bien, a provoqué non seulement l'arrêt du tourisme, mais aussi provoqué l'exode des populations et créé la peur dans les esprits. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle le site, effectivement, a connu quelques difficultés. À ce propos, ICOMOS souhaite également faire un commentaire.
If any comment, please. So I did not see the request for comment. ICOMOS, please, ICOMOS.
Thank you, Mr. President. As noted by the World Heritage Center, the crisis at Mali has also affected the property, although to a different degree than Timbuktu or Gao. And the crisis has exacerbated the conditions that existed prior, although the outstanding universal value of the property is not immediately threatened. Notwithstanding the shutdown of cultural tourism, a crucial source of income for the local communities, and other emerging factors pose a significant constraint to the continuation of traditional practices for conservation, management, and awareness raising. ICOMOS will continue to collaborate within the framework of the Action Plan for the Rehabilitation of Malian Cultural Heritage in supporting the necessary actions to ensure the sustainable conservation and use of the property. Thank you.
Any more comment, please? Senegal, please, you have the floor.
Oui, Monsieur le Président, nous avons dans la salle l'ancien conservateur et directeur du patrimoine culturel du Mali, donc qui connaît bien la situation. Je pense qu'il pourrait nous éclairer davantage.
Mali, you have the floor.
Merci bien. Je partage les informations ici données par Lazare et par ICOMOS. Effectivement, un des impacts le plus durement ressentis au niveau du site, c'est au plan économique, parce que le tourisme culturel qui était une activité essentielle pour les communautés locales a connu une grave crise. Et cela a mené effectivement beaucoup de difficultés de gestion, y compris dans l'organisation des traditions sociales et religieuses, telles les funérailles, qui coûtent excessivement cher. Donc à ce niveau, il y a effectivement un problème. Le site a été affecté. Et sinon, sur le plan religieux, je pense que il y a, effectivement, il a dit, la partie septentrionale du pays d'Ogon, heureusement que ce n'est pas dans le périmètre classé, a été touché. Et donc les gens étaient inquiets, mais cela a pu être sauvé in extremis parce que le conflit s'est arrêté à ce niveau-là suite à l'intervention militaire. Mais la difficulté essentielle, je mets l'accent là-dessus, c'est les conditions économiques qui se sont détériorées suite à l'arrêt. C'est un arrêt du tourisme culturel sur les sites. Merci.
Senegal again, please. Rapporteur, if you receive any request for amendment.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. On n'a pas reçu aucun amendement au sujet de la décision 37COM 7B34. Merci.
Et, dans ce cas, nous pour adopter la décision 37 comme 7B.34. Any objection? Il n'y a pas d'objection. Hein? Donc la décision 37 comme 7B.34 est adoptée. Colleague, before starting with the cultural site under item 7B, let us complete the discussion of Abu Mena, Egypt, under item 7A. I give the floor to Rapporteur to present the draft decision on Abu Mena, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to inform you that I consult different concerned parties. They have agreed upon the proposed draft decision. So, Mr. President, you can proceed to the adoption of this decision. Thank you.
So, any comment? No more comment, I think. So, the draft presented by Rapporteur is adopted. Yes. Now we go to.
Okay. Now you go to
this. Yes.
Wait, 1 minute.
It's a fun. I think we can go back for a while, you see, to Virgin Kumi Forest. So I ask the rapporteur, you see, to do the presentation on Virgin Kumi Forest.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to explain. We asked a drafting group yesterday evening to help us in this decision. So, the drafting group proposed paragraph number 3, then paragraph number 4. So, new paragraph that are insert in the proposed draft decision on paragraph 3 and 4, and we can go to adopt one by one. So number 1, no change. Number 2, no change. Number 3, new paragraph. Number 4, new paragraph. Number 5, no change. Number 6, no change. Number 7, no change. Number 8, no change. Number 9, no change. Number 10, no change. Number 11, no change. Number 12, it's a final paragraph, no change. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You can proceed to the adoption of the decision.
Yes, if everybody is agree with the decision, the draft decision presented by the rapporteur, so if no change, you see, so I think that we adopt, you see, the decision number 37.7b.24. So the decision is adopted. I now invite Mr. Fang Jing from the World Heritage Center to present the report on the state of conservation of the cultural property located in the Asia and Pacific region and open. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished committee members, a very good morning to you all. The first site to be presented from the Asia-Pacific region, the ancient building complex in the Wudang Mountains of China. Details on the main conservation issues identified for this property are summarized in the working document 37.7b on pages 111 and 113 of the English version and the pages 116 and 118 of the French version. In August 2012, the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS found through media coverage that an in situ lift-up project has been launched for Yuzhen Palace, one of the building complexes of this property. A brief report on the project was submitted by the State Party on 30th of August 2012. From the information provided, it was difficult for the advisory bodies to assess the full impact of the project in terms of how the raised building will relate to its surroundings or the rest of the World Heritage property. The World Heritage Center then transmitted the preliminary comments of ICOMOS to the State Party and requested to submit details of the project for evaluation by ICOMOS and recommended the State Party to also submit a state of conservation report of the property. On 28 January this year, the State Party submitted a state of conservation report together with the project plan for lift-up and protection of Yuzhen Palace. No further information has been provided since the finalization of the working document. The World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, and ICROM note with concern that although the Yuzhen Palace project has been planned since 2007, no details were provided to the World Heritage Committee before work commenced in summer 2012, in line with paragraph 172 of the operational guidelines. Thus, there's no opportunity for ICOMOS to comment on this project before work is almost complete. After the conclusion of the project, the palace will become the island in the waters of the reservoir, in spite of it being stated that the project will preserve the authenticity and integrity of the palace. The relationship of the palace to the other component part of the property and to the overall landscape would be compromised by these alterations. The State Party is considering inviting an advisory mission to the property, and we believe that a dialogue is needed on site as soon as possible. In relation to this, the committee may wish to request the State Party to invite, as a matter of urgency, a reactive monitoring mission after the 37th session of the committee to allow a full understanding of the potential negative impact of the project on the OUV of the property, especially the care with which the mechanics of the project have been addressed in relation to the component parts of the palace. The mission should also address how the issues that have been raised by this project in connection with the interrelation of the buildings within the property to each other and to the landscape can be addressed with the proposed management plan. Mr. Chairman, ICOMOS has some further comments on this property.
I give the floor to ICOMOS, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The ancient building complex in the Wudang Mountains is an exceptionally large and well-preserved Taoist ensemble of some 53 buildings in a picturesque mountain setting. It was inscribed for the way its buildings represent the highest level of Chinese art and architecture over a period of some 1,000 years. The Yuzhen Palace at the foot of the mountains is one of the most notable of these buildings. ICOMOS is concerned that although the palace will be technically saved by the proposed interventions, as an island, its crucial relationship with the other 52 buildings of the property and its relationship with the landscape will be compromised. ICOMOS considers that the development of this project appears to reflect the lack of a management plan for the property that adequately sets out a clear understanding of the attributes of outstanding universal value and the due processes to be followed for major projects. Although the State Party report has stressed the technical competences of the project and the options considered in reaching decisions, the palace seems to be valued as an individual monument rather than as part of the overall complex of buildings that make up the landscape property, which together have outstanding universal value for their crucial relationship with the landscape. ICOMOS considers that the proposed mission should consider, as well as integrity and authenticity, the overall management system for the property in order to understand how the processes that are followed for most other properties in China were not apparently followed for this Wudang mountain complex in reaching a decision on this palace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ecomos. I ask a comment from the committee member, please. Cambodge.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais remercier également le secrétariat et l'ICOMOS. Ce projet est important, très important pour le site lui-même. Et après avoir entendu les commentaires de l'ICOMOS, j'aurais aimé souhaiter entendre celui de l'État partie. Merci.
Or to Estonia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to pose a question to ICOMOS, actually. We are noting with concern that this draft decision is quite gentle, even though the threats identified in the report are major. A mission and a new state of conservation report is requested for next year, despite the fact that the property may be partly flooded and partly relocated and the contexts of monuments changed. As there are sites with similar problems in the danger list where dismantling and rebuilding of listed monuments are considered inappropriate because of its impact on authenticity. We would like to hear the opinion of ICOMOS whether and to what extent this kind of intervention into historic fabric is in line with basic conservation principles stated in the Convention, as well as in other international documents such as NARA document, which is linked to the Convention, and Venice Charter. Thank you.
Now I think I give the floor to ICOMOS if you have some additional comment. ICOMOS, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To answer the points made by the Honourable Delegate from Estonia, ICOMOS is, of course, highly concerned about the impacts on the authenticity and integrity of this one element of the very large property that has been inscribed. But I think, as has been stressed by the World Heritage Centre, we have very little information about this project other than photographs and some information that has come in with the State of Conservation report. We feel it is absolutely essential that there is a mission to the site so that we get first-hand information and the full details of what has happened, what will happen, and the impacts on the property itself. As has been outlined from the presentation, these impacts appear to be considerable, but we don't want to prejudge this issue until we have the full information and the full facts, which should be presented to a mission on site.
Thank you for your comment. I now call on the state party, China, to make a comment about that. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would like to thank the World Heritage Center and the advisory body for the concern on the conservation project of the Yuzhen Palace. The South to North Water Division project is a major national water project to alleviate severe drought and water shortage that involves 200 million people in North China. As a result of this project, the water level in Danjiangkou Reservoir will increase. If no measure taken, the Yuzhen Palace would be entirely flooded. In order to save it, many multidisciplinary expert augmentations has been organized. after taking into account the safety performance, technical difficulties, risks, cost, feasibilities, and other constraints, it was decided to lift the Yuzheng Palace on its original location so as to retain the authenticity and the integrity as much as possible. We sincerely invite experts from the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies to come to the site to see the project around October this year, to inspect the project and to see what's actually going on. And we sincerely hope that the international expert can provide us with valuable advice on on how to properly protecting the site as a whole and the Yuzheng Palace as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. So the state party agree to invite the mission on the site. So any more comment? So I did not see more comment. Please, rapporteur, did you receive the request for amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did not receive any request for amendment. So, Mr. Chair, you can proceed to the adoption of the decision 37-7B 60 as proposed by the World Heritage Center. Thank you.
So I request the committee member to adopt the decision number 37-7B.60. So the decision is adopted. So, Mr. Frank, if you have something to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next property is the group of monuments at Hampi in India. The summary of the state of conservation on this property can be found on page 114 to 117 of the English version and pages 119 to 122 of the French version of working document 37-7B. On 31st January this year, the State Party submitted a State of Conservation report which provides information on the progress achieved with regard to the recommendations outlined in Decision 35-7B66. The State Party had also submitted information on 22nd February last year in response to a request for information on demolitions at the Bazaar area of Hampi. The World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, and ICROM note the steps initiated for the removal of the debris of the collapsed Anagundi Bridge and the proposed location of the vehicle bridge, although no time frame for the completion have been provided. Despite the commitment expressed by the State Party with regard to the finalization and the full implementation of the Integrated Management Plan since 2005, progress remains slow with the finalization of this plan. Furthermore, the 2013 State Party report does not fully clarify the modalities of its implementation, and no information concerning the sustainability of its funding have been provided. The committee may recall that where removing the property from the list of World Heritage in danger in June 2006, it requested the State Party by Decision 30-7A.24 to promptly undertake actions to finalize, officially adopt, and implement the Integrated Management Plan. Furthermore, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies consider that the living function of the Vera Pasha Temple need to be recognized as supporting the outstanding universal value of the property, and which is going to be adopted at the current session. In view of the above, the World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, and ICROM recommend that the committee may wish to express its concerns with regard to the slow progress for the finalization of the integrated management plan after removal of the property from list in danger, and request a reactive monitoring mission to the property to review steps taken to implement previous committee decisions and mission recommendations. Mr. Chair, ICOMOS will not provide any further comment on this. Thank you.
So I ask the committee member to make comment, please. Yes, Arthur, you have the floor. See, Ambassador Russia, you have the floor.
Dear Chairperson, I will speak in English. Hampi World Heritage Site is an exceptional archaeological site spread over 41 square kilometers, including several villages within the site. And thus, State Party has got an immensely complex job of protecting the tangible values embodied in its monument and its exceptional landscape and its intangible values and its living temples. We are aware that the State Party has taken several steps in upholding the OUV of the property, such as complete removal of the debris of collapsed bridge, finalization of integrated management plan, for which several shareholders meetings have taken place and is already being implemented in stages, and in very handling the issue of relocating the encroachments from the bazaar area. Also, we are aware, Mr. Chairperson, that the removal of encroachers is no way impacting the living cultural and ritualistic practices in the temple. Since the State Party has undertaken several important steps and continued to conserve and manage the property in an effective manner, and there is no immense danger to the property, we think there is no need to call for the reactive monitoring mission at this stage, which is also an unnecessary expenditures. As you understand, everything costs money. So if necessary, the local UNESCO office can be requested to continue his liaison work with the State Party in this regard. Thank you very much.
Excellency, Ambassador, for your comment. Now I give the floor to the delegation of Malaysia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Malaysia supports Russia on this issue, where we feel that the 7-volume IMP was submitted in 2010, and the State Party is already implementing it and condensing it into a shorter version. And the condensed version of the IMP will be submitted in 2015 as required. This, together with the points mentioned by Russia, we feel that the State Party has undertaken important steps as required in conserving and managing the property. And therefore, a reactive monitoring mission is not required. Thank you.
Thank you, the delegation of Malaysia. Now I give the floor to Senegal, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous avons écouté avec beaucoup d'attention les organisations consultatives. Il apparaît qu'il y a énormément de problèmes sur le bien, il y a des démolitions, il y a des ponts effondrés, il y a un certain nombre de problèmes qui nous semblent assez importants. De ce point de vue-là, je pense que malgré tous les efforts faits par l'État parti, il faut quand même maintenir cette mission-là afin que le comité puisse avoir un avis indépendant et motivé pour prendre ses décisions. Merci.
Merci la délégation de Sénégal. Je donne la parole à la délégation du South Africa, please.
Chair, South Africa is also of the view that there is no need for a reactive monitoring mission and that the steps taken by India are adequate. We've noted also that funds have been obtained for the implementation of the integrated management plan, and we'd like to support the submissions made that there is no need for a reactive monitoring mission. Thank you.
Thank you. The delegation from South Africa. Now I invite the delegation from Qatar to take the floor.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. نود أن نذكر اتفاقنا مع ما ورد على لسان مندوبة روسيا ومندوبة ماليزيا ومندوب جنوب أفريقيا حول بعثة المراقبة. نعتقد أنه لا لزوم لها بحسب ما تقدمت به الدولة الطرف حول هذا الموضوع. شكرا.
Thank you, the delegation of Qatar. Now I come to the delegation of Iraq, please.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. نحن ندعم ما ذكرته روسيا وماليزيا، فإن الدولة الطرف تقوم حقا بخطوات عديدة للمحافظة على قيمة الموقع، لذا نرى أنه لا حاجة إلى دعوة بعثة جديدة للرصد. وشكرا.
Of Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Igualmente, la delegación de Colombia considera que no hace falta en este momento hacer una visita de monitoreo reactivo. Gracias.
Merci. J'invite la délégation de Suisse de prendre parole, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La délégation suisse estime aussi que les efforts entrepris de l'État parti depuis 2006 sont considérables et nous pensons que ce qui est important maintenant, c'est de finaliser le plan de gestion comme ça a été indiqué par l'État parti également, et que par conséquent une mission de suivi réactif pourrait avoir lieu après l'établissement de ce plan de gestion. Donc il faudra rediscuter de cela à partir de 2015. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci à la délégation suisse. Je donne la parole à la délégation de Éthiopie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Given the positive and commending efforts exerted by the State Party of India, according to the report, since 2006, I think we don't see any reason why we have to recommend for this reactive monitoring mission. So we would like to support the proposition of Russia and many others. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I give the floor to United Arab Emirates, please.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. الإمارات تدرك واجهها هذا الموقع ولكنها تثق من أن الحريصة على الحفاظ على تراثها من ناحية والتعاون مع الجهات الاستشارية من ناحية ثانية، ولذلك وعلى ضوء المعلومات التي لدينا من الدولة الطرف وبناء على ما عرضه بقية الوفود، نحن نؤيد المقترح الروسي الدول المؤيدة له. شكرا.
Oui, je donne la parole à la délégation de l'Algérie, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous saluons les efforts de l'Inde pour la conservation de ce site d'importance. Nous nous rallions à la proposition des différentes délégations et notamment la Russie pour dire que la mission conjointe n'est pas une nécessité à ce stade. Nous constatons également qu'il y a eu une décision de la Haute Cour de Karnataka qui a décidé la démolition de travaux sur un secteur. Et dans la proposition de décision, au point 5, il est demandé de donner des informations à l'État sur les mécanismes de compensation pour les familles délogées, qui seront délogées suite aux travaux de démolition. Je souhaiterais poser la question aux organes consultatifs pour dire quelle est l'incidence de cette information sur l'état de conservation du bien. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Ecomos, if you would like to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The paragraph 5 of the draft decision is acknowledging information that has been provided by the state party. We're not requesting any further information. We're acknowledging precisely what the state party has supplied.
J'invite la délégation de la Thaïlande, s'il vous plaît. La Thaïlande, si vous avez la parole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thailand feels that the State Party of India have done their best to protect the site, and we go along with the previous speaker, especially Lashit, to support the idea. Thank you.
I turn to rapporteur. Any request for amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. I would like to inform our committee that we received amendments by Malaysia. So I would like to put the draft decision on the screen, and I will explain what has been proposed. Paragraph 1, there was no change. Paragraph 2, no change. Paragraph 3, we have an amendment proposed by Malaysia. Paragraph 4, we have an amendment proposed by Malaysia. Actually, it is not a new text, just deletion of the previous. Paragraph 5, there was no change in the paragraph that was taken in consideration by the delegation of Algeria just now. Paragraph 6, there is a proposition by Malaysia just to change one word. Paragraph 7 was proposed for deletion. New paragraph 7 is previous paragraph 8, and this is the whole decision proposed for adoption. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Si, Madame la rapporteure, if no comment, no. So I ask for the adoption of the decision number 37,7b.61. So the decision is adopted. Now again, I ask Mr. Zhang Feng, is he for another presentation, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next slide for your consideration is Mid Imam in Isfahan of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Distinguished committee members, the State Party did not submit a State of Conservation report by the deadline of 1st February this year. On 29th of April 2013, a brief note was provided by the State Party before the reactive monitoring mission. The mission requested by the committee at its 36th session, Decision 36-7B62, was undertaken jointly by World Heritage Center and ICOMOS from 6 to 8 May this year. In the previous committee decisions, the conservation issues identified for property included, first, uncontrolled urban development, in particular the construction of Jahannama building in the city center, subway road made through the historical access of Isfahan, and thirdly, the development of a site management plan. The mission team concluded its technical review of the situation of the property, giving particular attention to the above-mentioned issues, and based on the discussions with the relevant authorities and stakeholders, on-site visits, and brief information provided by the State Party on the proposed Metro Line 2 project before and through their stay in Isfahan. Concerning the committee's request to assess the potential impact of the Metro Line 2 constructions on the property and its wider siting, the mission was informed by the Isfahan Urban Railway Organization that, due to economic situation, it is not expected that the works for Metro Line 2 will start before 2016. Currently, Metro Line 2 is a second priority for the Isfahan municipality. The route of Metro Line 2 is currently under investigation by the authorities. So, however, it is possible that this Metro Line 2 will pass underneath Mid Imam Square, as it did in the previous design. So the mission therefore concluded that although reports from the public media that the construction of Metro Line 2 has continued, it is essential that the current information being clarified by the State Party that it is not going ahead. However, the proposals for routing, constructions, especially underlying drillings, as well as a cultural impact assessment, has to be undertaken by the State Party when the time comes for the realization of the project. Regarding the Jahannama building complex, following the commitment made by the State Party in 2010, the demolition of 11th floor, the last floor by committee decision 30-7B57 of the building has been almost completed. The 11th floor is completely removed, the walls have been demolished, but works continue in the removal of the remaining structures. Although the initially foreseen time frame had been a bit expanded, the mission was informed that possible completion could be achieved by end of this month. The authorities also followed the previous decisions of the committee regarding the development of the site management plan and other aspects from the conservation of the site. So I think these been already provided in the summary in the previous committee meeting working document. The mission therefore recommends that the State Party address the remaining issues, and based on the findings of the current mission of the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS, and the Center and the advisory bodies proposed a revised draft decision And Mr. Chair, I think the rapporteur who may introduce this revised draft decision to committee members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jingfeng. Now, if any comment about that from the committee member, India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. This is always for us a difficult task of understanding the issues between growth and conservation, between development and conservation. And this is a remarkably complex site. We think the state party has actually carried out a lot of work, has complied with the requests of the World Heritage Committee. But as pointed out by the World Heritage Center, and we're very grateful for that presentation, I think we would like the state party to elaborate the current status of the state of conservation. I think it would help before we look at the draft decision. Thank you, Chair.
I give the floor to Iran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like, first of all, to start with expressing sincere thanks on the part of the Iranian delegation to the government of people of Cambodia for their hospitality and their great endeavor to organize the present magnificent event. Regarding the state of conservation of Meydan-e-Imam of Isfahan, we would like to bring to the attention of the esteemed participants that the efforts followed in Isfahan have proved to be unprecedented, and that it would not have been accomplished without the close collaboration of the Iranian authorities. The people of the city of Isfahan, as well as the city council and the mayor, among the other authorities of the city. As the distinguished committee members are well aware, safeguarding a World Heritage Site in the heart of an ever-developing major city proves to be a hard job. The accomplishments in this regard are as follows. Number one, the Metro Line 1 has been scientifically monitored and controlled through collaborations with Iranian universities and competent internal and international companies. Number two, regarding Metro Line 2, no feasibility studies have yet started. The Islamic Republic of Iran is ready to start collaborating with UNESCO experts on such feasibility studies in future. Number three, regarding the Jahannama Tower, we are honored to bring to the notice of the distinguished committee members that the last phase of the demolishing of the stories has been completed to almost 90%, and we hope that it will be completed to the end of June 2013, in spite of the complexity of the job, as you are well aware. The accomplishments no doubt have been achieved through close collaboration between UNESCO, ICOMOS, and the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran on the one hand, and the local community on the other. It is worth mentioning that ICHHTO enjoys the right to monitor all of the construction projects within the related buffer zone to the extent that it keeps the right to veto any decision on the part of any other benefiting side. The continuation of the efforts, however, will rely upon closer and stronger collaboration among the above-mentioned sides. Mr. Chairman, the Islamic Republic of Iran would like to enjoy the honor to bring to the notice of the distinguished committee members that it has been able to accomplish its commitments to a great extent, and that it will continue to on the same line to guarantee the proper safeguarding of the mentioned property. Thank you very much for the floor.
Merci la délégation de l'Iran. Any more comment? Je donne la parole à la France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Simplement pour saluer les efforts qui ont été accomplis par les autorités iraniennes afin de répondre aux demandes qui ont été faites par le Centre du patrimoine mondial. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci. Je tourne vers le rapporteur, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to present the draft decision that has just one paragraph inserted on the request of Secretariat, and it was explained during the presentation of the site, which is the sentence is taken from the last year's decision, and it's number 6, sorry. So I will read. Sorry, it's for the next decision. We don't have changes for this decision. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Je propose l'adoption de la décision dans cette comme 7B.62. Pas d'objection, donc la décision est adoptée. Oui, je donne la parole à M. Jinfeng de nouveau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next site for the committee's consideration is Masjid Jam of Isfahan, again also in the Islamic Republic of Iran. The summary on the state of conservation of this property can be found in the working document 37-7B add on page 123 and 124 of the English version and 129 and to 132 of the French version. The committee may recall that the property was inscribed on the World Heritage List last year in St. Petersburg. Where inscribing the property on the World Heritage List, the committee made a number of recommendations contained in the paragraphs 4 to 9 of previous decision 36-8B23 concerning the Medan Atik project at the property. Notably, the committee requested the Iranian authorities to conduct a comprehensive heritage impact assessment to ensure that the revised project proposal does not cause any negative impact on the historical mosque structure or its setting. Furthermore, the committee encouraged the state party to invite ICOMOS advisor mission to the property to assist in the revision of the Atik project and to submit to the World Heritage Center by 1st of February this year. A report outlined progress made in the implementation of the committee recommendations. To date, this report has not been received. On the other hand, despite of all the possible efforts made by ICOMOS and the World Heritage Center, the ICOMOS advisor mission to the property could not be realized due to specific technical reasons. The World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, and ICROM recommend that committee regret that no information has been provided by the state party so far on the requested revisions of the Medan Atik project or other requested by the committee in its previous decisions. Also, we consider that an ICOMOS advisor mission to the property could provide the opportunity to consider any revised plans for the Atik project and the related archaeological impact assessment before decisions have been made. We consider that the committee may wish to reiterate its request for the state party to invite such an advisory mission. So based on that, a new paragraph was proposed to be included in the current draft decision. Mr. Chairperson, ICOMOS has some comments on this property. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Frank. ICOMOS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Isfahan, as noted by my colleague from the World Heritage Center, was inscribed at the last committee session. Several requests were made upon inscription, and regrettably, we have not received an updated state of conservation report that would indicate what the progress made to date would be. Regrettably, too, we haven't been able to carry out an advisory mission, although the mission has been invited to the property. We do note that the recommendations made in 2012, in addition to those that might be made by the advisory mission, will need to be implemented as soon as possible to ensure that the outstanding universal value of this very recently inscribed property is sustained. Thank you.
J'invite les commentaires. Sénégal, vous avez la parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je vois qu'il y a beaucoup de questions sans réponse. Et comme le représentant de l'État parti est dans la salle, il serait peut-être bien de lui donner la parole afin qu'il nous éclaire. Merci.
And you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for granting us the floor once again. As you are well aware, this property has been only recently inscribed on the World Heritage List. We would like to bring to the attention of the distinguished members of the committee and the participants and the esteemed participants that the state of conservation is, for the time being, under control. And we have organized programs for the advisory, for the mission of ICOMOS and the other representatives. We have invited them, and we are going to follow this invitation. So we will be back very soon with a full-fledged report. Thank you very much.
Les commentaires, s'il vous plaît. I ask the rapporteur to
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the draft decision 37-7B63. Can we have we don't have any changes in number 1. Can we have a whole decision on the screen, please? Secretary? Sorry, we are waiting to have a decision so that you can see it. In the meantime, I can start. We don't have any changes in number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. But we have inserted new number 6, which is according with what was said by State Party, invites mission, and by the Secretariat. So it was the paragraph taken from the previous year's decision because mission didn't take place. So we just have this slight change, and Mr. Chair, in other paragraph number 7, we don't have any changes. We have a new 8 paragraph, no changes. We have a new 9 paragraph, just a technical, also reiterates its recommendation, and new number 10, there is no changes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You can proceed to the adoption of this decision.
J'invite les membres du comité à adopter le projet de décision. Il n'y a pas d'objection, donc le projet est adopté. Monsieur Jingfang, you have to do the new presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my colleague, Ms. Jun Yihan, will present the next slide on Gaul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The next site for your consideration is the Old Fort of Gaul and its fortification. The document can be found at the document 7B, addendum, page 127 in English and page 135 in French. The committee may recall that in 2008, the potential impact of a proposed port construction on the integrity of the property, as well as intrusive and illegal constructions within the Gaul cricket ground impacting on the integrity of the property were reported. Subsequently, the committee, at its 33rd session in 2009, requested the state party to invite a reactive monitoring mission to the property. In addition, the committee requested the state party to revise the boundaries of the property and the buffer zone to reflect the recent underwater archaeological discoveries made in the bay to the east of the old town, given the fact that the shipwrecks are important tangible attributes of the outstanding universal value of the property of the 17th and 18th centuries fortified port or maritime trading routes. The reactive monitoring mission took place in February 2010. However, the necessary documents for the mission to address all the issues, such as the detailed proposal on the port development construction and a detailed report on the intentions with regard to the International Cricket Stadium, were not made available during the mission. Consequently, the mission was unable to adequately address all the issues. The mission, nevertheless, took note that the proposed port development was downscaled and the demolition of one of the illegal buildings erected within the cricket stadium. In light of this, the committee, at its 34th session in 2010, requested the state party to submit the revised port development proposal, as well as the detailed report on the current intentions with regard to the International Cricket Stadium, among others. The requested information by the committee was finally received on 24th of May 2013 in the Secretariat and are as follows. The revised layout of the port development, Goal Harbour Maritime Archaeology Impact Assessment, and the map of the newly revised buffer zone. The Secretariat shared them immediately with the ICOMOS for its review and comment. Hence, the said documents are currently being reviewed by the ICOMOS. In view of the information received after the distribution of the working document, the Secretariat would like to propose minor changes to the draft decision presented in the document 7B, addendum page 129 in English, and page 137 in French. With your permission, Mr. President, the minor changes brought to the draft decision might be presented by the rapporteur on the screen, and if you allow, the ICOMOS might wish to comment. No? Thank you.
Also, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. No, I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
If any comment, please. So, rapporteur, s'il vous plaît. Rapporteur, s'il vous plaît.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is not clear. They've given me something, but I cannot interpret after this what I have here. Please, can I have explanation from the Secretariat what they want to delete? Thank you, Mr. Chair. I propose that we go to the decision as it was proposed by the Secretariat. So it is 37, COM 7B 67.
So I invite the committee member to adopt the decision. No objection. So the decision is adopted. I now invite Mr. Jing Feng to to read out the list of the cultural property inscribed on the list of the World Heritage located in the Asia-Pacific region, which are proposed for adoption without discussion. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The following cultural heritage properties inscribed on the World Heritage List in the Asia-Pacific region and the relevant draft decisions are proposed for the committee's adoption without discussion. These sites are the Historical Center of Macau in China, draft decision 37-7B.59, the Mausoleum of Hoja Ahmed Yassawi in Kazakhstan, draft decision 37-7B64, Kathmandu Valley in Nepal, draft decision 37-7B65, the Historical Monuments of Tata in Pakistan, draft decision 37-7B66, the Historical Center of Bukhara in Uzbekistan, draft decision 37-7B68, and finally, Samarkand, Crossroads of Cultures, also in Uzbekistan, draft decision 37-7B.69. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I invite the committee member to adopt together, you see, the different decisions proposed, read out by the Secretariat. If no objection, you see the different decisions read out by the Secretariat are adopted. I now invite Mrs. Pacha Tutcharova from the World Heritage Center to present the report on the state of conservation of the cultural property located in the Europe and North America region and open for discussion. Please.
The state of conservation reports open for discussion from the region of Europe and North America are the following. The historic centers of Berat and Girocastra, the World Heritage Properties of Vienna, the Neolithic site of Çatalhöyük, the Upper Middle Rhine Valley in Germany, and Kiev, St. Sophia Cathedral and related monastic buildings, Kiev-Pechersk Lavra, Ukraine. Actually, the list of properties which was requested for discussion by some states parties has been reduced, and there are two properties for which the World Heritage Center has received late information, and therefore the advisory bodies jointly with the World Heritage Center propose some revisions, revised draft decisions, namely Vienna and Kiev. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, Mrs. Tutcharova, for this presentation. And I now invite the committee member to express their comment. You have the floor.
Thank you. The first report which we have for discussion is the historic centers of Berat and Girocastra. The discussion of this report has been requested by Germany. Meanwhile, after preparing the working document, the World Heritage Center has received additional information from the State Party, which informed us on the 10th of June 2013 about a new hotel project development called Rehabilitation of the Kodra House, to be located in the component of the World Heritage Property Girocastra. Illustrations have been sent by the State Party to the World Heritage Center about this new project, and they have been shared with the advisory body ICOMOS. At the World Heritage Center have requested further details from the State Party, including a narrative description of the project and the current status of the project, and we have received further information on 11th of June, on the 13th of June. Therefore, taking into account the new information that has been submitted by the State Party, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies have revised the draft decision which was prepared for this property and which has been distributed by the Secretariat. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Now invite Come you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The mission report for the property has highlighted the difference in protection, planning, management, fire protection, and in particular the incidence of illegal constructions between the two parts of the serial nomination, Berat and Girocastra. The mission recommended the need to strengthen protection for both towns and to put in place one overarching management structure so as to be able to have more dialogue between the two sites. It also highlighted the need for more resources and capacity building for the property as a whole. It was, however, convinced of the commitment of the conservation departments involved in these towns to address these quite difficult issues. What emerges clearly from the mission is a concern about the vulnerability of property, in particular in Girocastra, where illegal constructions exist alongside empty buildings that are symptomatic of the gradual shift away from the town of its residents in the absence of any perceived sustainable future. The mission suggested an action plan with a time frame to begin to address these fundamental issues, which, if not addressed, could lead to the emergence of serious threats to the outstanding universal value. This plan is a way of trying to develop a sustainable management approach for the two towns based on better control of planning processes and with strengthened management and risk preparedness frameworks. Since the mission report, the State Party has submitted details of a planned hotel on a high point in Girocastra. Unfortunately, this proposal was not shown to the mission. The project is to build a hotel on the site of a large merchant's house, which was demolished and later became the site of a monument to the former leader. ICOMOS has not been able to fully review this project, as details have only recently been provided. However, it does consider that a heritage impact assessment should be undertaken for these proposals, as this, as well as ascertaining the impact of the proposed hotel, could also help to make better known and understood the outstanding universal value of the site and its attributes, and also allow a full discussion of this proposal, which could become a component in a wider sustainable development plan for Girocastra. Thank you.
I give the floor to Germany, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the floor. Germany has asked to open the document due to information obtained on the construction plans just mentioned of a hotel complex in the historical center of Girocastra. The revised draft decision, which was distributed yesterday, addresses our concerns in regard to these plans. We fully support the wording of the new paragraph 10 and have no proposal for further amendments. Thank you.
More comment, please. Rapporteur, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We can proceed for the adoption of the decision 37-7B70 Rev as proposed by the Secretariat. Thank you.
So I invite the adoption of the decision. No objection, so the decision is adopted. So I invite Secretariat to go forward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The next property or other properties on the list of cultural properties in Europe and North America are the World Heritage properties in Vienna, in the city of Vienna and the gardens of Schönbrunn. The document is to be found in WHC 1337.com 7B. The draft decision is on page 134 for the English version and 140 for the French version. The State of Conservation report has been requested to be opened by the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies in order to reflect some new information which has been received from the state party in the months of May, more particularly concerning the height of new buildings in the historic center of Vienna. The State Party has sent a report on 31st of May in response to letters from the World Heritage Center, dated in April, beginning of May, 13th May, 22nd May. And this letter confirm which are the options considered for the Intercontinental Hotel Ice Skating Area project. And the letter indicated that both options would include a high development above the current building stock. I should also indicate that letters have been received from a number of non-governmental organizations and individuals concerning different development projects, but more specifically the Intercontinental Hotels Ice Skating Area project and the height of the new buildings. The World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies have proposed a revised decision, namely in its paragraph 4. And maybe Kumas will wish to add, Mr. Chairperson, to this presentation. Thank you.
La parola a Kumas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The one overall theme of the report of the mission that visited the historic city of Vienna and the Palace of Schönbrunn in September last year was the need for new development to respect height restrictions and for detailed visual assessments to be carried out on projects well in advance of detailed plans being prepared. And in order to achieve this, the mission recommended that regulations and urban planning policies should be developed to achieve visual protection of key views and aspects of the skyline. At the time of the mission, proposed redevelopment in and around the Intercontinental Hotel at the edge of the property was considered promising in the way a participatory approach had been selected by the city, and this was thought to have the potential to reduce the current adverse impact of the existing hotel and improve the quality of the overall neighbourhood. However, since the mission, further details of the proposed plans have emerged, and one of these includes a building that is far higher than the existing buildings. ICOMOS considers that details of these two options need to be provided by the State Party, together with appropriate cultural heritage impacts assessment that includes detailed visual impact assessments of these proposals, so that we can then in turn evaluate the potential impact on the property. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ekomos. Now I invite the comment, please. Rapporteur, Switzerland, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La délégation suisse a également reçu des informations concernant ce projet de l'hôtel intercontinental. Et ces informations nous laissent craindre qu'un impact négatif pourrait se produire sur ce bien qui porterait atteinte de manière prépondérante à la valeur universelle exceptionnelle du bien. Nous soutenons par conséquent pleinement la révision de la décision comme elle a été soumise par le Centre du patrimoine mondial et l'ICOMOS. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci, la délégation de la Suisse. So I invite the rapporteur to present the text.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to remind you that the draft decision is in the blue papers, so 37.7b 71 Rev, World Heritage Properties in Vienna. And please, we can proceed to the adoption of the revised draft decision. You can proceed, Chair. We haven't received up to now any changes, so it is the decision proposed by the Secretariat. Thank you.
So no request for amendment. I invite the committee member to adopt the decision. So decision is adopted. Again, I invite Secretariat to present the next project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The next property to be examined is the Upper Middle Rhine Valley, Germany. Document WHC 1337.com 7B ad. The draft decision can be found on page 140 for the English version and 148 for the French version. Actually, after the publication of the document, we have received a couple of letters or correspondence from individuals or non-governmental organizations expressing concern about the negative impact, in one case of the summer bobsleigh track on Loreley Plateau, and on the other side shared opinions about the rather limited impact of the currently existing summer cable car infrastructure in Koblenz. The latter also mentioned considerations of future winter cable car installations which may require additional evaluation. If you look at the pictures in front of you, you can see that the French version of the PowerPoint show the cable car installation in Koblenz, and they also show the high water level of the Rhine River due to the extreme rains and partial flooding along the river, which, as you know, has recently been the case in many other areas of Central and Eastern Europe. The State Party of France has asked to open this case for discussion, and maybe, Mr. President, they might wish to comment on this request. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. And Iconos as well.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you've heard, the mission was asked to consider the potential impacts of hotels, possible energy installations, and the cable car transportation within the property. And the mission came to the conclusion that none of these projects were compatible with outstanding universal value, the existing ones. As well, though, in terms of management, the mission considered that the master plan for the property to clarify the prospects for future development was exemplary in the way it addressed visions for the future, challenges, and a spatial analysis, as called for by the committee. And particularly, they commended its participatory approach. Nevertheless, challenges remain in addressing and balancing the various interest groups, layers of authority, and the relationship of the plan to the wider planning framework.
And in terms of future developments, the mission considered that the plan needed to be more specific in terms of policies, such as for a river crossing, now that the bridge, which was considered by this committee, has been dropped, and also on other subjects, such as possible energy installations, and overall on what possible type of development would be appropriate, particularly for the Loreley Plateau, in order to understand how development might contribute to the overall sustainability of this cultural landscape. Thank you.
So, j'invite les commentaires. La France, vous avez la parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'Allemagne a informé le Centre du patrimoine mondial en 2008, effectivement, de cette opération temporaire de câble téléphérique entre le quai Konrad Adenauer et la forteresse Ehrenbreitstein. Ce système devait être retiré en juin 2014. La délégation allemande pourrait-elle nous apporter des précisions quant à l'évolution, quant à l'avenir de ce câble et sur son impact sur le site de la vallée du Haut-Rhin moyen? Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
If the State Party would like to take the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me the floor. The purpose of the cable car system was to connect both sides of the Rhine occupied by the National Garden Show in 2012. This connection between the city of Koblenz and Ehrenbreitstein Fortress proved highly and successfully during the garden show and has continued to do so since. It enables particularly elderly or persons with a handicap and even young families to reach the fortress without any problems. Concerning the document in front of us, I like to underline that Germany appreciates all recommendations and conclusions of ICOMOS, with the exception of that on the cable car system. In this single case, we have the impression that ICOMOS didn't pull up the statement of outstanding universal value as confirmed by the World Heritage Committee last year as basis for the evaluation. The conclusions of the mission report are inconsistent. Allow me to give you only one example. The mission report confirms that material and substance, two of the key indicators of authenticity, are not jeopardized by the cable car systems. At the same time, the report speaks of a detrimental impact on the spirit and feeling of the site, yet these indicators are not included in the statement of outstanding universal value as qualifying conditions for the authenticity of the upper Middle Rhine Valley, which is, by the way, a 64-kilometer long property. To our opinion, the system does not threat the OUV of the property. We like to use this very energy-efficient and sustainable system beyond 2014. We will and we promise to dismantle it by the assumed working line. That means in 2026 at the latest. Thank you very much.
Il y a des autres commentaires? Switzerland, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Suisse, souvent, se considère comme le pays des installations à câble et nous avons même un inventaire sur les installations à câble historiques qui sont elles-mêmes devenues des monuments avec le temps. Toutefois, j'aimerais poser une question à ICOMOS concernant l'impact de cette installation dont est question ici sur la valeur universelle exceptionnelle du bien, parce que nous avons examiné avec soin le dossier, donc le rapport sur l'état de conservation, ainsi que le rapport de la mission lui-même, et les conclusions de ce rapport nous semblent quand même pertinentes et c'est pour cela que nous demandons la clarification sur l'impact de cette installation. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Most, if you would like to take the floor. Oui, parce que la question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the mission report was certainly concerned about the visual impact of the cable car on the landscape, and the mission report is available for you to consider. But it was the issue of the line of the cable car and the movement and so on, in terms of its visual impact on the overall landscape of the Rhine Valley. What the Statement of Outstanding Universal Value stresses is that this is a cultural landscape that has been fashioned by in various ways as a result of the Rhine being used as a transport infrastructure, and the way that the wealth from this trade affected and impacted on the development of towns and agriculture and so on within the landscape. But it also emphasizes the way that the great beauty of the landscape has strongly influenced artists of all kinds. And I'm now reading from the Statement of Outstanding Universal Value that it influenced painters and poets and composers over the past 2 centuries. That's the wording of the Statement of OUV. In terms of the mission expert, there was concern that it was this aesthetic impact that was the main reason why the mission considered that this element was undesirable within the landscape.
Any more comment, please? Colombia, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Nuestra delegación ha estudiado con mucho detenimiento este caso y consideramos que la instalación de ese cable ha permitido, entre otras cosas, un mayor acceso por parte de la población. Vemos que eso puede ser un asunto supremamente importante para el bien inscrito en la lista del Patrimonio Mundial. En ese sentido, nosotros vemos con buenos ojos la posibilidad de que se pueda prolongar esa permanencia del teleférico hasta el año 2024 que se propone. Gracias.
Merci, la délégation de Colombie. J'invite la délégation de Mexique.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Un comentario que tiene que ver con esto, pero que es un poco al margen. Este es el caso de un teleférico utilitario con funciones muy específicas que benefician a la población. Quizá yo le pediría a los miembros de ICOMOS que empecemos a analizar el tema de los teleféricos, y eso no es culpa obviamente de Suiza, es una moda que hay. En América Latina se están dando varios casos sobre temas de teleféricos en sitios patrimonio mundial, con funciones específicamente turísticas o comerciales. Así es de que tal vez también habría que hacer un análisis de la función utilitaria de estos teleféricos para resolver no solo el impacto visual o al valor universal, sino la función misma de estos teleféricos. Muchas gracias.
J'invite la délégation du Japon, please.
Thank you, Chair. Listening to this installation of cable car, I feel their judgment by the advisory body should be rather strict, in a sense. Because the city landscape, this is not the city, but visible landscape could be evolved over time. And there are people living there. So I believe some kind of consideration should be given to this case. Thank you.
No more requests for comment. Huh? Oui, rapporteur, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. On pourrait passer à l'adoption de la décision 37 comme 7B 75, qui se trouve dans la version française du document 7B Addendum, page 148, et dans la version anglaise, page 140. Donc, on peut procéder à l'adoption de la décision telle que présentée par le secrétariat. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Oui, il n'y a pas des amendements à demander. Donc, j'invite les membres du comité d'adopter le projet de la décision. Ah, Germany, please. France aussi. Germany first. Germany first. Yeah. Yeah. Ah. Committee member, committee number first. Yes. Oui, la France. Vous avez la parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous voulons proposer un amendement qui serait au point 6A du projet et qui ajouterait, donc à la fin de ce point 6A, d'ici la fin de la durée de vie, donc au 30 juin 2026, au plus tard. Ce qui amènerait par conséquent à supprimer, après le mot « démonter », le morceau de phrase comme convenu précédemment. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
With Colombia to take the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente, por darnos al uso la palabra. Nuestra delegación respalda plenamente la propuesta de enmienda presentada por Francia. Muchas gracias.
Sénégal, s'il vous plaît. Sénégal, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Sénégal prend acte de l'évolution de la recommandation et voudrait faire un bref commentaire sur les rapports entre la sauvegarde du patrimoine et l'aménagement du territoire. C'est une question très importante qui va revenir très souvent et j'inviterai à l'occasion le comité à faire preuve de sagesse et de vision prospective afin que les questions d'aménagement et de mise en valeur du territoire n'entrent pas en conflit avec la sauvegarde des valeurs universelles exceptionnelles. Nous appuyons la France et vous disons que nous reviendrons très souvent sur ces questions-là. Merci.
Or to Switzerland, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ce qui nous laisse un tout petit peu perplexes dans cette histoire, c'est que quand ce téléphérique a été construit, il a été justement parce qu'on savait qu'il y aura un impact négatif, avec une promesse de démantèlement de l'installation après cette exposition. Et maintenant, par après, on revient sur cette décision en disant qu'il n'y a plus vraiment d'impact et qu'on va laisser l'installation jusqu'à la fin de sa vie, ce que nous trouvons un tout petit peu compliqué. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Oui, la Mali, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La délégation malienne souscrit entièrement à la proposition de la France. On était un peu, si vous voulez, on réfléchissait un peu par rapport à la période, c'est-à-dire 2026. Mais après réflexion, on s'est rendu compte qu'il y a des études à mener. Il y a également des travaux de grande envergure et d'aménagement. Donc le Mali souscrit entièrement à la proposition de la France. Merci.
Africa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We won't oppose the amendment in any way, Chair, but we're just asking the committee to display a level of even-handedness when considering other sites. And basically, we're asking that a similar approach be followed in respect to other sites. So there's a level of consistency in the decision-making related to similar sites. Thank you, Chair.
Oui, merci de votre remarque. J'invite la Serbie, please.
Serbia supports French proposition.
Here, please.
Thank you, Chair. Malaysia agrees with South Africa because this is going to create a precedence for other sites in future. It's not that we are opposing it, but we would like to see that it will be applied equally in future.
With l'Algérie, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous sommes bien à l'article 6, à n'importe quel point ABC. Je peux me permettre de parler du point C? Merci. Au point C, il est refusé d'approuver des bâtiments hôteliers de grande envergure envisagés sur le plateau de la Lorley. Et est-ce que ce sont seulement les bâtiments hôteliers? N'y a-t-il pas d'autres bâtiments qui peuvent être érigés et qu'il faudrait peut-être aussi prendre en considération? De notre côté, hier nous avons passé un peu de temps à discuter de l'importance des infrastructures et des immeubles d'importance capitale. Ici, nous revenons avec des bâtiments hôteliers de grande envergure. Quelle est la limite, enfin, grande envergure, à quoi cela renvoie? Ce sont des bâtiments uniquement. Le bâtiment est une infrastructure aussi, non?
Merci de votre remarque, Excellence ambassadeur. J'invite Land et après les Comos de prendre parole.
Thank you, Chair. I would request a response on the very pertinent question posed by Algeria, but also I speak to support the point made by South Africa and by Malaysia that we must establish consistent norms and follow them. Thank you, Chair.
Most, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, to clarify, if I may, 6C in the draft decision, which recommends that the State Party do not approve the large-scale hotel developments which have been considered. And that was what the mission was asked to look at, these particular large-scale developments. But what has also been stressed in the mission report is the need for the management plan to develop specific policies on what type of development would be appropriate for the Laurel Leaf Plateau. In other words, for servicing the requirements of the local population and the tourists. How can this be done in an appropriate and sustainable way? So it's these particular large-scale hotel buildings, because they were already defined projects, that are referred to here. But may I also comment on the issue of consistency, which has been raised by several delegates. ICOMOS would strongly support the idea of consistency, but the issue is quite what this means in terms of cable cars and the landscape. So I think the issue must always be related to the outstanding universal value of the property and the attributes of outstanding universal value, and we must be consistent in the way we look at impact assessments on the outstanding universal value, and thus the conclusions may vary from one property to another, because it will depend on why that property was inscribed and the type of impact, for instance, a cable car might have. Thank you.
Estonie, vous avez la parole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Estonia supports the original version of the cable car point, but we don't mind if the State Party of Germany will propose next year a new proposal about the new cable car with less visual impact, because we understand the positive aspects to the property, what the cable car can bring as well. Thank you.
Let's welcome on. So, rapporteur, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have here we have heard different proposals from the delegation. So we, as I understand, we don't have a consensus upon changes introduced by France. So should we go back to the original proposition of the draft decision? This would be my proposal. Or if some delegation has a concrete proposal to change, I think we should go back to the previous proposal.
Please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Respetamos profundamente la apreciación de la señora reportera, pero no estamos de acuerdo. Sobre la pantalla está muy claro, la propuesta de enmienda está redactada adecuadamente y está respaldada por una serie de países que hemos expresado nuestra voluntad de manera contundente. Muchas gracias.
So now I ask the opinion from the committee. Yeah? Should we adopt la France? Vous avez la parole encore une fois.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Les explications qui nous ont été apportées par la délégation allemande nous paraissaient extrêmement convaincantes, notamment pour l'utilité à l'égard de la population, et je crois que c'est un élément que nous devons vraiment prendre en compte dans l'appréciation de ce dossier. Donc, et la délégation allemande nous a également fait part de la durée pour laquelle cet équipement serait utilisé. Donc je crois que ce sont des garanties qui peuvent peser dans l'appréciation qui sera faite par les différents membres du comité. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Encore une fois, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Excusez-moi de reprendre la parole à ce sujet, mais ce qui me paraît important à souligner, c'est que on peut accepter cet amendement de la France en tant qu'exception, mais ce n'est pas la question si une installation, une infrastructure est utile à quelqu'un ou pas, mais la question est s'il a un impact sur la valeur universelle exceptionnelle ou pas, si on veut la construire dans un site du patrimoine mondial. Donc on ne peut pas commencer à faire une pesée d'intérêt avec l'utilité, le confort, l'accessibilité, etc. Et la seule raison et la seule argumentation qui serait valable, c'est l'impact sur la valeur universelle exceptionnelle. Ceci dit, avec la limite du temps jusqu'en 2026, on peut vivre avec ça et nous comptons sur cette promesse de l'Allemagne de démanteler cette installation dans 13 ans quand nous serons tous un tout petit peu plus vieux et peut-être plus sages aussi. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Colombia, s'il vous plaît.
Gracias, señor presidente, por otorgarme nuevamente la palabra. Creemos que en este caso hay un componente muy importante que, por supuesto, tiene también que ver con un análisis del valor universal excepcional, pero no se trata de un emprendimiento, digamos, lucrativo desde ningún punto de vista, sino la garantía de una accesibilidad universal para personas con limitaciones físicas, para personas de la tercera edad, aparte de un bien inscrito en la lista del patrimonio mundial, lo cual nos parece supremamente positivo. Gracias.
Oui, l'Afrique du Sud, vous avez la parole.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just on the point that's been made now in relation to access, I would assume then by the same token that a road into a World Heritage Site would serve the same purpose and function then. Just a general comment, Chair.
I think now we have heard all the common and now I am thinking if we go to the adoption of what? India, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I think the point that we are looking at is the application of consistency. Not only yesterday, but today and tomorrow, I think we need to apply the same set of standards. I agree. I mean, disabled people need to be enabled. I agree that there needs to be access. But then you can't have differentials. You cannot have different ways of looking at it. That's all the point that is being made. I imagine that the state party has very good reasons. I'm a little surprised at the length of time taken, but all right. Maybe the equipment will depreciate in that period and there will not be a problem. But I ask that when we look at Latin America, when we look at Africa, I ask that the same standards be applied. That's all, Chair.
Komos, if you have some more comment? No, yes. see, I think we should take a very fair decision. Huh? Now we can see that there is no argumentation against the idea, the spirit of the decision. But we notice that there is a lot of remark. You see, and if we can say like that, you see, Secretariat and ECOMOS should take into account, you see, these very good and very balanced remark made by different delegations. You see, but as we have no objection to the idea of the decision, I think whether we can adopt the decision. No objection? If no objection, I think I invite the committee to adopt the decision. But I also invite the ECOMOS and Secretariat, you see, to take good note of different remarks made by different delegates. So we adopt the decision. Huh? No objection, I think the decision I adopted. So the decision is adopted. Yes.
What can we do?
Yes. Secretariat, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The next cultural property in the region of Europe and North America to be discussed is the Neolithic site of Çatalhöyük, Turkey. Document WHC 13/37.com7b. The draft decision can be found, the original draft decision can be found on page 152 for the English version and page 159 for the French version. This State of Conservation report has been requested for discussion by the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies due to information which has been received from the state party. Actually, the site of the Neolithic site of Çatalhöyük was inscribed on the World Heritage List at the 36th session of the committee in St. Petersburg last year, and the decision adopted for inscription requested the state party to provide some additional information, among which to finalize and approve the management plan. The state party report received initially did not provide information about the finalized management plan. Therefore, the original draft decision prepared by the Secretariat and the advisory bodies requested the state parties to finalize the management plan. However, on the 21st of May 2013, the World Heritage Center received information from the state party informing that the management plan has been finalized and agreed and will be implemented shortly. Copies of that management plan have not at this point been forwarded yet to the World Heritage Center. It is important to note as well that the state party emphasized that in the revision process of the management plan, which has now been agreed, it will take into account the recommendations made in the original draft decision during the review process for the management plan. This is the reason why the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies have revised the draft decision in order to take into account this positive development and to reflect the changes imposed by the development. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. ECOMOS may wish to take the floor on this
matter.
Again, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As noted by the World Heritage Center, we have received this additional information, and this, of course, is a very welcome development. The management tool is the essential tool to ensure the conservation of the property, and this meets the request made by the World Heritage Committee last year. We would, however, reiterate the need to develop monitoring indicators to ensure the efficacy and adequacy of the management actions proposed. Thank you.
Commentaire. No comment. Rapporteur, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a draft decision in the revision REV, so you can find it in blue papers that were distributed yesterday. And it's a 37-7B 86 revised by the Secretariat and proposed for adoption. You can proceed, Mr. Chair, to the adoption of the proposed decision. Thank you very much.
Oui, j'invite les membres du comité d'adopter la décision 37 comme 7B.86. Donc la décision est adoptée. I now invite Ms. Tocharova to read the list of the cultural property inscribed on the list. One more. Oh, there we have one more, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Actually, the last cultural property to be discussed in the region of Europe and North America is Kiev, St. Sophia Cathedral and related monastic buildings, Kiev Pechersk Lavra, Ukraine. Document WHC 1337.com 7B. The original draft decision is on page 158 in the English version, 165 in the French version. Actually, after the publication of the working documents on the 3rd of May, the document 7B, we have received new information, and this is substantial new information, as given the fact that the reactive monitoring mission to this property has been delayed until the month of April, and therefore the report was not prepared before the dispatch of the document and was finalized towards the end of May, respectively sent to the State Party in the beginning of June. Therefore, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies considered important, very important, that the recommendations of this mission are reflected in the draft decision, and therefore we have made a proposal in this regard, which has been distributed on the blue paper form yesterday to the committee members. Furthermore, as far as new information is concerned, which has been received by the World Heritage Center after the dispatch of the documents, let me just note that we have received in May additional information from the State Party, which we have also tried to take into account, as well as a number of petitions and correspondence of civil society individuals and non-governmental organizations expressing concern on different aspects of the state of conservation of the property. So, you don't want to thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Almost, if you have the comment.
Thank you. Not at this point.
So I invite comment, please. Russia, please, you have the floor.
Спасибо, господин президент. Мы хотели бы Российской Федерации отметить, что проект, представленный и КАМОСом, и подготовленный Центром, достаточно сбалансирован. Учитываются рекомендации комитета и практические предложения КАМОСа. И поскольку отчет экспорта и КАМОСа подчеркивает наличие положительного прогресса административных, профессиональных управляющих организаций, поэтому мы предлагаем поддержать решение и предложения, подготовленные КАМОСом, и принять решение предложенной редакции без обсуждений.
Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. But seeing these pictures, I doubt that the visual integrity of that site is not in danger. I remember the decisions of the committee concerning Cologne, and we abandoned the plans for high-rise building only, and we didn't build them. And I like to remind my colleagues from the World Heritage Committee to discuss the resolution on that. We just have had a long debate on the visual integrity of the cable car system of the Middle Rhine Valley. But in comparison with these developments, I think it is obvious what has a visual impact and what not. And therefore, I do not understand that ICOMOS is drafting such a very smooth and very light decision.
Any other comment, please? No more comment. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. The construction of these buildings led, if the committee might recall, in 2010, I apologize, in 2010 to the committee recommended that a moratorium on all high-rise building and non-conforming buildings be undertaken. The draft decision submitted for consideration by the committee at this session is noting that this moratorium is still not in place, and this, in fact, is a situation that needs to be addressed urgently. We also note in the mission report that the development of appropriate regulations that are very much needed have still not been undertaken, but we recognize that studies of visual perspectives need to be prepared in order to better inform how these regulations can be prepared. Although progress has been made in the definition of the protected area, these were issues that were not addressed at the time of inscription, and the state parties undertaking actions to look at them. It is important, and the mission report notes it, that we need to accompany this with the strengthening of the legal frameworks and the management arrangements for the property. We also note that the approval process for the urban master plan is crucial, and we will underscore that special area and zoning plans need to be defined so we can ensure how adequate urban fabric and development can coexist in regard to the buffer zone and the setting of the property.
The building that is shown here refers to what we are regretting in the decision, that the Klofsky descent building was carried out, and we will examine with the state party what possible mitigation measures could be undertaken. Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Germany again, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for taking the floor again, but I think this construction has been built in the past months or not. Did I understand that right? That is not a render.
You have some comment?
No, this has in fact been completed, and that is point 5 of the draft decision, where we are regretting that this building was completed despite the requests made by the committee at the 35th and 36th sessions. We're also concerned, and we're expressing this in the draft decision, that the potential mitigation measures being considered at this point, rather than modifying the height, are focusing on just aesthetic measures. We do reiterate that we need to work with the state party in order to identify the best possible measures to reduce the adverse effect this is having by possibly demolishing the constructed levels to an appropriate scale. That is as noted in draft decision submitted for your consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Germany can be satisfied?
I think we have to work on the wording of the draft decision. I think we should set a very precise framework.
I think Germany can you suggest some amendment? Do you like?
So we are preparing on that.
Vice Algeria to take the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous avons en face de nous une photo, et je ne crois pas qu'une seule photo peut nous faire comprendre ce qui se passe. Bien entendu, nous avons bien écouté l'ICOMOS et lu avec beaucoup d'attention le rapport qui a été établi. Nous pensons qu'il y a quand même une volonté de l'État partie de régler toutes les questions soulevées. Il y a un moratoire qui est en cours et qui va être soumis et mis en place. Peut-être que l'État partie pourrait nous dire pourquoi il y a ce retard dans la mise en œuvre du moratoire. Nous avons aussi lu et vu que l'État partie a engagé un processus de mise en place des instruments de planification urbaine. Nous savons tous que ces processus demandent du temps, mais il y a quand même un début d'exécution dans ces procédures dont il faut tenir compte. S'agissant de point 2 relatif au panorama du paysage fluvial monastique, pour lequel une expertise a été demandée selon les documents en notre possession, il serait peut-être utile qu'il y ait un avis concerté sur ce projet avant d'engager la démolition. Le coût est parti. Il y a un bâtiment qui existe. Il y a une volonté de réduire cet impact, peut-être par des mesures esthétiques ou autres. Donc il y a une étude qui est en train d'être faite. Il pourrait y avoir, dans ce cadre, un avis qui soit partagé entre les organes consultatifs et l'État partie pour régler cette question. Donc, nous pensons qu'il faut tenir compte de tous ces éléments dans ce dossier pour la ville de Kiev. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
If there is some more comment, please. If no, I'd like to invite the state party. You see the delegation from Ukraine to clarify.
Okay. I'm a member of the official delegation of Ukraine and city architect for Kiev. I'm appointed almost 3 years ago, and when I was appointed, that building, you see it at the picture, was under completion. There was 3 more floors built, and despite of our fight against that building, unfortunately it was completed and commissioned. That's why we were very active to help to work together with mission of UNESCO, Mr. Todor Krestev, and we were cooperative and created measures. As it was said in the draft decision of the committee, we have a time until February next year to submit a report. And in this report very clearly said what we're doing and what is proposed by us. First of all, we spoke about moratorium. Moratorium was sent to the city authority, council, November last year. Up till now it wasn't adopted by the councils, but we created another measure. We are finishing master plan. For 4 years, master plan is doing, and within the master plan we have a historical architectural scheme, background. In this scheme, this object is estimated as as non-recommended. The recommendation to demolish that building is quite serious, because building is private ownership, and people, citizens of Kiev, bought some apartments on the top floors, and even to take off some floors is the problematic now for us. But this object is not considered by us like something which can be stay for future. In the master plan, we consider it like nonsense. Then we now, architectural circles under my leadership, we are doing electronic 3D model for Kiev, landscape, and all the buildings which are built and are going to be built. And we're considering every visual points to avoid any such pictures like you see here. That materials, if somebody is interested to look at it, I can deliver. So we are asking for and agree with official delegation that draft decision is quite serious, but we are going to fulfill it. Thanks.
Envite Ecomos de faire please. No.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oui, Germany, you have the floor, Germany.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, for taking the floor again, but my distinguished colleagues asked for consistency. And I like to remember, my colleagues, that in 2006, Cologne Cathedral was red listed because of renders of such developments, not because of photos of realized development. And Dresden Cathedral, Dresden, the Elbe Valley, was delisted. Why? Because due to the fact that a bridge was under construction, delisted from the World Heritage. Now we are facing development, high-rise buildings like this, and they are not under construction. They are nearly finished. And therefore I asked for the consistency my colleagues did in the previous interventions before. Thank you.
Jean-Louis Larossi de prendre la parole.
Уважаемые коллеги, можно, конечно, согласиться с тем, что подобное высотное строительство неуместно в подобных городах. И вы помните очень хорошо Санкт-Петербург и нашу борьбу, чтобы убрать вот этот проект с Охта-центром. Но Санкт-Петербург, если вы помните, все вы были, абсолютно плоский город, вытянутый в одной горизонтали. Если вы посмотрите на Киев, и вот эта фотография абсолютно неправильно отражает визуальный ряд Киева, потому что я недавно только была в Киеве, не портит сильно, ничего там не видно, потому что весь Киев расположен на таких взгорьях, и вы там вообще не чувствуете вот эту высотность какого-либо здания. Поэтому я бы сказала, что предложила бы вернуться все-таки к тому, что предложил в данном случае ИКОМОС, а не нам самим принимать решение, исходя из того, что никто там не был, мы не видели это, а ИКОМОС видел. И я думаю, что они еще поработают над этим вопросом, а вписать в список под угрозой или выписать из списка всемирного наследия никогда не поздно. Поэтому я думаю, что лучше всего принять вот это предложенное ИКОМОСом решение. Спасибо.
Merci. J'invite la délégation du Sénégal de prendre parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Bon, je pense que je vais aller dans le sens de ce que vient de dire l'honorable représentante de la Russie. Bien évidemment, nous appelons à la cohérence, mais comparaison n'est pas toujours raison. Et je pense qu'une image d'un contexte peut être un miroir d'alouette. À partir du moment où nos collègues de l'ICOMOS ont eu l'opportunité d'aller sur le terrain, de faire des propositions très précises, nous avons aussi eu l'occasion d'écouter l'architecte de la ville, qui bien évidemment regrette ce qui s'est passé et a proposé aussi des mesures correctives. Je pense que nous devons donner un peu de temps à tout ce monde-là pour que le rapport sollicité nous parvienne l'année prochaine et que si nous devons prendre une décision importante, que nous le fassions en bonne connaissance de cause. Merci.
Merci, la délégation de la Mali. I invite the Agency Ambassador of India to take the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. At St. Petersburg, I remember another troubling set of photographs which related to the Alto Douro wine-growing region of Portugal. Photographs, unfortunately, as we have realized over the years, can be misleading. Angles change, perspectives change. I'm not quite sure. The distinguished ambassador of the Russian Federation pointed out the topography and the issues that accompany the topography. Secondly, I'm not very clear on the buffer zone. Visual impact, which is actually transformed, being morphed from something called visual integrity, is a very troubling phenomenon. And nowhere in all of our discussions, not in the operational guidelines, does visual impact figure. Now, this is all work that is happening. To me, the issues of the buffer zone, how far does visual impact actually impact? Is it what the eye sees? Is it what the mind beholds? How do you look at this? And I think the way to go is the way suggested by ICOMOS. It is, as far as I'm concerned, a fairly strong decision, but obviously a decision that is warranted by the circumstances. To go beyond that, I think, would be difficult. There is a course of action. I was very impressed with the kind of reasoning and the statement of the architect of the city. I mean, he is the man on the spot. He's actually the man in the firing line, and he has been troubled by inheriting a perspective, a skyline, where this building was well on its way to completion. So I think that we could leave this to ICOMOS and their suggestions, and certainly I think we need to know more about it, and most importantly, I think we need to formulate for ourselves the perspectives on visual impact or visual integrity, however you define them.
Invite delegation of Cambodia, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je serai bref. La délégation cambodgienne, après avoir écouté l'Allemagne, pense que c'est une réflexion et un commentaire très raisonnable. Mis à part les notions importantes de la VUE, à savoir l'intégrité, l'authenticité et la qualité visuelle du site, nous pensons, par le droit de l'expression, à un mécanisme qui semble s'être mis petit à petit en place dans nos travaux. C'est, j'appellerais, un mécanisme d'un fait accompli. Et je crois qu'il va falloir faire très très attention parce que ça risque de porter atteinte à plusieurs sites dans l'avenir. Merci beaucoup.
Merci pour les remarques de la délégation du Cambodge. J'invite Estonie, s'il vous plaît, de prendre parole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Now we face the fact that the skyline of Kiev is spoilt. Isn't it a result of our misbehavior here in the committee? We haven't not used the tools we have in the hands. We have twice rejected to inscribe Kiev into the danger list. Maybe there was an opportunity to save the thing if we have used this tool. I don't know. Thank you.
Si de vos remarques, j'invite la délégation de l'Algérie, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous venons, il y a un moment, de décider de donner une échéance à une réalisation jusqu'à son amortissement. C'était un téléphérique. Là, nous sommes en face d'un bâtiment qui a aussi une durée de vie. Mais nous n'insisterons pas sur cette question. Nous considérons que la demande faite de l'ICOMOS dans la présente décision est très raisonnable et permet à l'État partie de se préparer et de fournir les éléments qui peuvent, à la prochaine session, nous permettre de prendre une décision raisonnable, pas au vu d'une photo, mais au vu d'un rapport établi avec des précisions, de plus grandes précisions qui permettent aux membres du comité de prendre une décision raisonnable. On ne peut pas décider de la mise en péril d'une ville comme Kiev et de la cathédrale de Sainte-Sophie à partir d'une photo. Il y a une volonté de l'État partie de régler cette question en prenant des mesures adéquates pour atténuer l'agression visuelle. Ceci doit être fait en collaboration avec l'ICOMOS. Il faut les accompagner et voir ce que ça va donner. Donc nous sommes pour la décision en l'état et pas pour la mise en péril du site. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci, son excellent ambassadeur de l'Algérie. Nous avons Mexico, s'il vous plaît.
Muchas gracias nuevamente, señor presidente. Hemos escuchado el compromiso que tiene el Estado parte para dar solución a esta desbordada problemática que afrontan ellos para la conservación de Kiev. Creo que es importante en este caso apoyar plenamente la decisión de ICOMOS y eso nos da la pauta también para tomar en cuenta, aquí se está hablando, el señor embajador de la India lo mencionó, también la embajadora de Rusia, el tema de incluir en las directrices prácticas más firmemente el tema de documentos ya emanados por el mismo ICOMOS, por la comunidad europea que hay de compromisos en temas tan específicos como es esto de la evolución de las ciudades y de los paisajes culturales y de los paisajes urbanos. Muchas gracias.
J'invite la délégation de la Suisse de prendre parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Il nous semble que le comité se retrouve quand même assez souvent dans une situation similaire et j'aimerais rejoindre la délégation de l'Estonie sur ce point. Souvent, nous sommes confrontés à un problème qui se trouve au stade de projet, de plan. Et souvent, dans cette situation, nous pensons qu'il est bénéfique pour le site de donner du temps à l'État partie, de clarifier ses projets, de repousser une décision ferme ou des demandes explicites. Et après un certain laps de temps, nous nous trouvons devant un fait accompli qui porte atteinte au site et, comme ici, qui compromette l'intégrité du site. Ceci dit, nous appuyons la position de l'ICOMOS et nous l'avons toujours appuyée aussi dans les années précédentes. Et il faut que le comité soit conscient de ce cas dans des discussions futures, quand il y aura plus de marge de manœuvre de réagir et de formuler des demandes pertinentes. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Give the floor to United Arab Emirates, please.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. بعد الاستماع لرأي إيكومس وما أشارت إليه وفود الدول تجاه هذا الموقع الهام، نحن نرى أن هناك اتجاه كبير لاعتماد ما ورد في القرار من قبل إيكومس. والأمر الآخر أن الدولة الطرف رغم شعورها بأن هذا الأمر فيه تعبير قاسي عليهم، وهذا بالضرورة ليس رأينا نحن هنا، لكن هم وافقوا على القرار. الدولة الطرف موافقة على قرار إيكومس، فنحن في وضع توافقي على هذا الأمر، مع إذا هناك أي إضافة للمشاغل التي أشارت إليها بعض الوفود لتوخي الحيطة من تكرار مثل هذا الأمر في مواقع أخرى في المستقبل. شكرا.
Thank you. Now the delegation of Qatar, you have the floor.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. لن أطيل كثيرا ولن أكرر ما ذكر، ولكن نذهب مع زميلنا مندوب الإمارات العربية المتحدة وجميع الدول التي ذهبت في اتجاه أن يتم قبول مشروع القرار بحسب ما تطرحه الأيكوموس. وشكرا.
S'il vous plaît. Parce que le rapporteur a besoin un petit peu de temps pour discuter avec les propositions. Please. Lasselby, please.
Well, we have also listened very carefully to the previous discussions, and we fully agreed with Algeria, and therefore we support ICOMOS proposal.
Si. Any more comment? I see you have the text. Yeah, please, please.
Can we have a decision? Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to present. We received amendment from Germany that envisage World Heritage to put property on World Heritage list in danger if the above recommendations of ICOMOS are not respected or followed. So can you please look the preposition? So this is a conditional at the end of all the recommendations. And otherwise, it is the decision on the revised that is proposed by ICOMOS. You have it in the document that was distributed yesterday, 37.7b88 Rev, in the blue set that was distributed yesterday. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Le rapporteur a déjà présenté le texte révisé S'il n'y a pas d'opposition, j'invite les membres du comité d'adopter le texte. Il n'y a pas d'opposition. Algérie, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'Algérie n'est pas d'accord avec cette proposition. Nous pensons qu'il faut donner le temps à l'État partie de préparer, de se mettre donc en conformité dans la mesure du possible. Il faut lui donner le temps jusqu'en 2014 et en 2014 décider s'il y a lieu de la mise en péril. On ne peut pas décider de la mise en péril aujourd'hui puisqu'on a des preuves de bonne volonté, de bonne volonté du pays de faire. Donc, il faut attendre l'année prochaine et décider de la mise en péril. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
You have the floor.
Уважаемые коллеги, я тоже поддерживаю предложение Алжира, потому что считаю, что вписать в список под угрозой, опять же, никогда не поздно. И потом, в каждой стране есть своя специфика восприятия этой угрозы, понимаете? Вот если в одной стране сразу власти предпринимают какие-то решительные действия, то в другой стране могут сказать: ах, под угрозой вообще выписываете нас из списка. Разное восприятие, и мы все из бывшего Советского Союза, и мы знаем немножко психологию друг друга, поэтому для украинцев это будет только хуже, если мы сейчас будем вписывать такую угрозу. Дадим время, в следующем году посмотрим, и тогда мы можем идти дальше. Спасибо.
J'invite le Japon de prendre parole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Japan is the same line with the views made by the Algeria and the Russian Federation. Thank you.
J'invite la délégation du Sénégal.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous pensons que cette menace est contre-productive et suggérons de suivre l'Algérie et la Russie.
Germany, please. Germany, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like to bring to the attention that these buildings under construction have been in the face of the committee in the last two sessions, and nothing happened, despite of our urgent appeals to stop that. And therefore, I think we have to give now a clear sign what is going on if we are not get that results we like to ask, we like to have. Because to put in place a development master plan or something like that, it is not enough. Actions are required, and I like to see actions and not to see put in place a management plan. We need respect for management plans. We need respect for the high-rise, for a framework of a high-rise building. And I do not see it. To write something down is not that what we want. We like to see results.
Et j'invite la délégation de la Suisse de prendre parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Suisse soutient l'amendement de l'Allemagne, d'autant plus qu'il s'inscrit dans une logique de discussion qu'on mène depuis des années sur ce site, et d'autant plus que ce n'est pas l'inscription elle-même sur la liste en péril, mais la considération de cet acte qu'on pourrait envisager l'année prochaine, et c'est pour cela que nous appuyons cet amendement. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Russia, I yield the floor again to Russia, please.
Уважаемые коллеги, у меня вопрос к специалисту из Германии, который занимается культурным наследием. Вы говорите, что Украина должна предпринять конкретный план. Вот что вы видите, какие конкретные действия в данном случае, когда Дом построен инвесторами, жители выкупили квартиры. Какой конкретный план должна предпринять Украина для того, чтобы мы не писали в список под угрозой? Как вы видите реальные действия Украины по отношению к этому? Подскажите.
Please.
I think we need results, but we do not need results like that. Okay, you can say there are people who are going to buy apartments in that high-rise buildings, but I think that is not a reason not to abandon such buildings.
You see, we have to come to the decision now. So, now I would like to ask the committee member. So the amendment, the revision initiated by Germany is now on the screen. I like to ask the committee member who supported this revision to let us know now, because we have to take decision now.
Put up the nameplate.
Yeah, you raised the nameplate, please. India, yes.
India support?
No.
How many support this amendment?
Because we want to know how many support the new text of amendment.
Switzerland only. Switzerland and Germany. How many do? Are against?
Now I ask another question. How many? How many?
Point of order. Point of order. India.
India, yes.
Excellency, I'm sorry, but I know it's almost geographically impossible, but you put India in the wrong place. India is along with Japan and the Russian Federation and Senegal. Not, thank you. Now it's correct.
So now I ask in that way, please raise your plate if you are against the draft of revision. The draft of the new text of revision. Oh. Yes.
Contre.
See, if you are against the new text of revision, please raise your plate.
Yes, there is. The majority is there.
So we can see that the majority. Yeah? Thank you. You can drop the plate. Yes. So I don't know how to decide now. We have to go with the majority. Yeah? Yes.
Adopt the decision.
Yes. So the decision, the proposal by ECOMOS is adopted. Yes.
Okay. Now you read this.
I now invite Mrs. Tocharova to read out the list of the cultural property inscribed on the list of the World Heritage located in Europe and North America region which are proposed for adoption without discussion. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The list of cultural properties in Europe and North America which are proposed for adoption without discussion are the following. Historic Center of the City of Salzburg, Austria. Ancient City of Neseber, Bulgaria. Prehistoric Sites and Decorated Caves of the Weser Valley, France. Budapest, including the banks of the Danube, the Buda Castle Quarter and Andrássy Avenue, Hungary. Archaeological areas of Pompeii, Herculaneum and Torre Annunziata, Italy. Porto Venere, Cinque Terre, Italy. Alto Douro Wine Region, Portugal. Kiji Pogost, Russian Federation. Historical Center of the City of Yaroslavl, Russian Federation. Cultural and Historic Ensemble of the Solovetsky Islands, Russian Federation. Kremlin and Red Square, Moscow, Russian Federation. Sevilla, Spain. Historic areas of Istanbul, Turkey. Lviv, the Ensemble of the Historic Center, Ukraine. Cornwall and West Devon Mining Landscape, the United Kingdom. And Westminster Palace, Westminster Abbey and St. Margaret's Church, United Kingdom. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
So I invite the committee member to adopt the draft decision. No objection, the draft is adopted. I now invite Mr. Cesar Moreno Triana from the World Heritage Center to present the report on the state of conservation of the cultural property located in Latin America and the Caribbean region, and open for discussion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to start with the State of Conservation report from the colonial city of Santo Domingo. The State Party has submitted its report on 1st February 2013. The report can be found in document 37-7B. The World Heritage Center has received additional information from the State Party after the submission of the State of Conservation report. The 21st of March 2013, the State Party submitted by email the response of the Sanssouci holding to the mission that took place at the property. This documentation focused on the possible avenues for the real estate projects to comply with the elements of the outstanding universal value of the property. Furthermore, on the 18th of June, the World Heritage Center received from the national government of Dominican Republic an invitation for an advisory mission to the property in order to guide the State Party in the conservation and management arrangements for the property. The draft decision can be found on page 163 for the English version and page 180 for the French version. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. ICOMOS has some comments on this report.
Now we open the floor for comment. ICOMOS, yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. ICOMOS welcomes important progress that has been made with the management arrangements for the properties, as planning tools will ensure larger coordination and more efficient decision-making amongst the many entities involved with the property. We would, however, underscore the importance of finalizing the approval process of regulations to ensure that this management system becomes fully functional. The approval of a new law for the protection of cultural heritage would also be an important step in ensuring the sustainability of these efforts. We also note with some concern that the final approval of the buffer zone and the enforcement of the corresponding regulatory measures, particularly at Santo Domingo Este, are still necessary to ensure the protection of the property setting by providing effective regulations for new construction. In regard to the Sanssouci project, ICOMOS wishes to point out that we do not object to the recovery and development of the area, but we want these designs to be completely revised. However, noting that the project proposals will need to balance the need for new development with those of heritage conservation, particularly the protection of the attributes that warranted the inscription of this property on the list. As noted in the State of Conservation report submitted for your consideration, the visual relationship between the colonial city, the Osama River and its left bank, and the sea is an essential component of the property. In the study submitted by the State Party, these important viewsheds have been analyzed and potential impacts have been clearly identified. It is therefore necessary that alternative designs are identified which take into account the results and ensure that the relationship between the city, the river, and the sea is not compromised. Information received to date indicates a willingness of the involved parties in implementing the required measures so they can ensure that protection is given before any actual commitment to construction is made. It is necessary that the project is reviewed and that the World Heritage Committee has the opportunity to evaluate this information at its 38th session. Finally, ICOMOS warmly welcomes the request made by the State Party for an advisory mission. This provides a unique opportunity for us to further collaborate with the State Party in identifying the most adequate options for the property. Thank you.
I open the floor for comment, please. Mexico, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Queremos intervenir brevemente porque además conocemos el caso, conocemos la ciudad. Es un centro histórico con una fragilidad como lo es la mayoría del Caribe latinoamericano y es el mayor impacto visual de este desarrollo Sanssouci sería hacia las visuales de la fortaleza de Santo Domingo, que es uno de los monumentos más importantes de la ciudad colonial. Al parecer, las alturas máximas de las edificaciones propuestas por la misión de monitoreo es de 4 niveles en la zona de amortiguamiento del Centro Histórico de Santo Domingo. Y tenemos entendido que desde un principio la Dirección de Patrimonio correspondiente al Estado de Parte ha solicitado al grupo gestor del proyecto de desarrollo que contemple justamente la disminución de esas alturas, el aumento de áreas verdes y de espacios de uso público. Creo que merece el Estado parte tener todo el apoyo del comité para lograr evitar y disminuir el grave impacto visual y patrimonial que tendría este desarrollo en esa ciudad. Gracias.
One, please. Colombia, please.
Gracias, señor presidente, por darnos el uso de la palabra. Nos parece importante poder escuchar las opiniones y recomendaciones que tiene el Estado parte. En ese sentido, le pediríamos, si es posible, darle el uso de la palabra a la distinguida delegación de la República Dominicana. Gracias.
State Party, please, you like to take the floor, yes.
Gracias, señor presidente. La República Dominicana agradece al Centro de Patrimonio Mundial y a su organismo consultivo ICOMOS la atención otorgada a la ciudad colonial de Santo Domingo inscrita en la lista de Patrimonio Mundial en 1990, y expresa su disposición de continuar trabajando sobre los puntos señalados en el proyecto de decisión 36.7b.96 de este comité. Por un lado, en todo lo relativo a los aspectos normativos y recursos requeridos para su protección y la de la zona de amortiguamiento, y por otro lado, con el proceso de revisión del proyecto inmobiliario Sanssouci, un desarrollo vertical de gran interés nacional, planificado a construirse al este de la ciudad en su zona de amortiguamiento. Respecto a este proyecto, se han elaborado los conos visuales solicitados por la misión de monitoreo reactivo y por el Comité de Patrimonio Mundial, y están siendo utilizados como herramienta de evaluación previendo un posible impacto sobre el bien inscrito. Este proceso, liderado por el Ministerio de Cultura, ha incorporado expertos nacionales en las áreas de conservación y urbanismo. Vale señalar que el caso de la ciudad colonial no es único, pues son muchas las ciudades patrimoniales que se enfrentan hoy día a situaciones similares, producto del acelerado crecimiento demográfico, o lo estarán en muy poco tiempo. Se precisa entonces que este tema sea un tema de discusión en el Centro de Patrimonio Mundial sobre centros históricos que son centros vivos y que están sometidos a presiones de cambio permanente. Es por ello que como Estado parte invitamos una misión consultiva a los fines de asesorar al Estado en la identificación de los elementos que permitan la ejecución de este proyecto sin afectar el valor excepcional universal de la ciudad colonial de Santo Domingo. Muchas gracias.
Merci, la délégation de la République dominicaine. Ici, il y a des autres commentaires. Rapporteur, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. On a le document devant nous qui vient d'être distribué ce matin. Donc, c'est la proposition de secrétariat et amendée aussi de ICOMOS. Et vous avez donc le document 37com 7B 96, ville coloniale de Saint-Domingue. Projet de décision, vous pouvez procéder, Monsieur le Président, à l'adoption parce qu'il n'y a pas de changement à cette proposition. Merci.
J'invite les membres du comité d'adopter la décision 37 comme 7B.96 révision. Il n'y a pas d'objection. La Germanie, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, Germany can agree, does agree with the revised version of the draft decision, would only add one further amendment in para 5, which reiterates. We would like to add also reiterates its concern to the state party about, and then it remains like this to make clear that the development are originating in the private sector, but so we are addressing the state party to take action. Thank you. I don't know.
Alors, si les membres du comité sont d'accord avec l'amendement, il n'y a pas d'objection, donc le document est adopté. think we have to take a break for our lunch, and maybe Secretariat has some information.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have a number of announcements to make. First of all, we have the two working groups, the operational guidelines group at 12:30 in the Champa, which is the bureau room, and we have at 1:30 the budget group in the Champai room, and especially the chairperson of the budget group asked us, you should come numerously to that group. He feels a little bit alone there. Then the Europe and North America unit and ECROM are inviting you to the side event on the capacity building strategy initiative for Central Eastern and Southeastern European region, and this will take place on the first floor in room number 10. Then there are the advisory body side events from 1 o'clock to 1:30, a presentation on Xi'an by ICOMOS, and from 1:30 to 2:30, the State of Natural World Heritage Conservation Outlook Assessments by IUCN. This is in the advisory bodies room on the fourth floor. And then concerning technical announcements, you notice some interference. So whenever you have your headphones on and you are speaking, you have to keep the headset away from the microphone because the interpreters cannot hear you. And I think you have an interest that you have a correct interpretation of your interventions. And also the Secretariat would like to tell you that the nameplates, you keep them up so that we can see who raises the nameplates. Many thanks to all of you and have a nice lunchtime. Back at 2:30.